Pregnant. What are you doing?
What's wrong with you?
You're pregnant. You're pregnant. What are you doing?
What's wrong with you?
You're pregnant. What are you doing?
What's wrong with you?
You're pregnant. What are you doing?
What are you doing breaking a $50 bottle like that?
Like,
You could have hurt the baby.
Pregnant. Like, what are you doing?
Oh my God, what's wrong with
People
you?
like you that up the world. You're pregnant. What are you doing?
What's wrong with you?
You're pregnant. What are you doing?
What are you doing breaking a $50 bottle like that?
Like,
You could have hurt the baby.
Pregnant. Like, what are you doing?
Oh my God, what's wrong with
People
you?
like
old empty feeling in your heart, 'cause love comes slow and it goes so fast.
My dad never told me that I had a.
That's crazy.
My dad never told me about you. Well, it's nice to meet you, sister.
Nice to meet you, bro.
Who's your mom? I mean, like, yo, man. Hey, man, where's my dad at? Where's my dad at? Because my dad never told me.
We got some questions.
Yeah, my dad never told me that I had a secret sister. Like, what's going on? I need my, like, question. Like, my question needs to be answered.
Essa é a live hoje, eu cantando as músicas do Simplão Vs Night na boca. Essa é a brisa. Eu liguei o videogame, né? Pô, esqueci. Musgalha. Lascarei. E aí. Ô, filha da puta. Mentirada do caralho. Filhas da puta, cara. Puta que eu pariu, velho. Caralho, mano. É esse spec. Boa noite, lindão. Fala, Frio. Por que tu não faz no TikTok também, mano? Acredito que tenha bastante público lá, embora que a plataforma é um cu, mano. Porque é difícil pra mim, cara. Como é que eu vou fazer no TikTok também, mano? Me explica, me dá uma dica, cara. Tu sabe como é que funciona, mano? É difícil, cara. Quer ver, ó? Eu posso abrir agora o bagulho do TikTok, mano. Vamos lá. Vamos lá. Ó. Vou abrir agora o TikTok Live Studio, que é um programa terrível, tenebroso. Não só isso, mano, mas tipo, eu já faço live pelo OBS em 2 plataformas diferentes. Pra puxar coisa pra fazer Live Studio junto, mano, é horrível, cara. É muito ruim, mano. Mas eu vou abrir, vamos tentar, pô. Fora que eu acho que eu não tenho autorização pra fazer live, mano. Deixa eu tentar aqui, peraí. Meu TikTok não deixa, mano. Deixa eu tentar aqui, peraí. Pra página de cortes. Ah, tomei meu Monster. Nossa, tô cheio de like no meu TikTok, cara. Que isso? Da hora, eu acho. Não, vamos tentar agora, vamos tentar, né, mano? Agora vamos tentar. Caralho, uma galera começou a seguir meu canal de cortes no TikTok, mano. Você é louco? Bastante gente mesmo. Vamos tentar. E se eu colocar aqui live? Será que eu tenho o direito de ir live? Iniciar live. Tem, mano. Só que ele vai pegar só a câmera e tá com um efeito muito ruim, cara. Era aí que eu tô. Terminar. Caralho, eu não fiz um bom trabalho. Durou 2 segundos, mano. Tá, executar o TikTok Live Studio. Aparentemente eu consigo fazer live. Faz isso não. Desculpa. Agora vai, mano. Agora eu vou fazer isso aí. Você me fudeu, pá. Daria pra fazer pelo OBS também, só que eu não consigo, mano. Eu não consigo. Pera aí, mano. Ó, eu sou ininteligível. Cadê a live no Tic-Tics pra eu mandar rosa? Mano, é meu sonho, cara. Pera aí. Só que eu não consigo, cara. Ele fala que eu não tenho autorização, mano. Você vê? Se travar tudo, vocês já sabem, viu, mano? Foi por causa dessa porra aqui. Calma aí, galera. Calma aí. Vamos lá. Aí eu vou tentar ligar. Aí ele fala que eu não sou elegível pra começar a fazer live, mano. Não aprovado ou revogado. Solicitar novamente. Só que e se eu tentar pelo live whatever lá? Uau! Não, vamos tentar agora, velho. Agora vamos tentar, cara. Ele não tá permitindo, mano. Tá dando erro de network. Olha lá que bosta. Olha que merda. Que bosta, cara. Continuar com o Google. Google enviou uma notificação ao seu celular. Sim, sou eu. LOL. Mano, Live Studio é muito ruim, galera. É realmente muito ruim. Vocês não estão ligados. Mas o frio me fez fazer o bagulho agora. Então. Simplão Cortes, boas-vindas. Aí ele já começa tudo cagado já. Configurar agora. Importar de outra ferramenta. Não foi possível importar, mano. Vai tomar no cu, cara, essa porra, cara. Nossa, é muito mal feito, cabra. Desculpa, chefe. Não, mano. Você já me fudeu agora. E ele não pega a minha câmera, né? Tem esse também. Ele não vê minha câmera, mano. Ele não vê minha câmera porque... Oh! Porque eu já tá em uso. Porque ela já tá em uso, mano. Como é que eu faço? Daí. How to stream... Simul stream to TikTok. Tá que pariu, viu, mano? Os caras mandam um programa no GitHub, velho. Tô programar o bagulho. Vai se fuder, mano. Nossa, tudo em japonês, mano. Vai tomar no cu, velho. A Nick é guerreira. Não, mano, o problema não é usar o live, o bagulho da live, mano. Pra mim é fácil. O problema é fazer lives simultâneas, frio. Não é difícil fazer live no TikTok, mano. O programa é uma merda, mano. Mas como é que eu vou fazer o simultâneo, tá ligado? Porque minha webcam tá sendo usada no OBS, cara. Entendeu? Não tem como você ter duas fontes puxando a imagem da tua webcam ao mesmo tempo, saca, mano? Você tem que usar a câmera virtual, só que essa porra de câmera virtual você só pode fazer, mano. Você só pode usar se você fizer lives no TikTok Live Studio mais 3 vezes por 25 minutos cada, mano. E as transmissões de live pelo celular não contam, mano. Tá ligado? Não conta, cara. Sacou? Essa que é a brisa divertida do bagulho, mano. Eu tenho que fazer só no Live Studio e não o contrário. É foda, mano. É foda. Uma merda, mano. Ele só permite usar a Virtual Camera depois de 3 lives de 25 minutos no TikTok Live Studio. Porque ele quer que você use o bagulho exclusivamente por um tempo, tá ligado, mano? Só depois você pode usar a câmera virtual do OBS, que é o que permite você chupinhar tua webcam em mais fontes de uma vez só, tá ligado? Mas não permite, mano. Não permite, foda-se. Eu não vou conseguir agora. Bom, foda-se, mano. Vamos jogar um pouco de Silk Song e depois a gente joga outra coisa. Se foda, mano. Tudo em japonês foi foda. Mano, sim, tem um plugin, tá ligado? Que é bom até. Eu já usei ele uma época, eu não uso mais, mano. Só que é tudo em japonês essa porra, mano. Inspecionar. Que porra é essa, mano? Da hora. Nice. Tá, mano. Ô, filha de uma puta. Ô, tá muito alto o volume aí pra vocês, família? Ou tá de boas? Que barulho é esse, mano? Caldeirudo, mano.
Me ofende?
Tecelãs que odeia. Mano, eu não faço ideia do que tá acontecendo, cara. Muito bom.
Benny Frank.
Sim, eu acho. Prometer, sim. Eu prometo. Prometo, sim. Eu tenho já duas, eu acho, não tem não? É, eu tenho duas. Ó, só com 3 ela conversa, caralho. Se fuder, mano. É isso? Consegui! Caralho, aí sim.
Hironare.
Só o druida sabe. Ah, porra. Ah, porra, mano. Oh. Granted. Olho do druida. Nossa, da hora. Da hora. Ai, ai, ai. Ah, vamos no boss então, né? Aqui onde nós pegou a última fruta. Acho que é aqui, né? Pera aí. Putz, mano, eu vou me fuder, né, velho? Pera aí, deixa eu sentar na cadeira aqui pertinho, vai, mais fácil. Poxanca, mano.
Desculpa fazer você passar raiva, chefe. Foi sem querer, foi sem querer. Não vai se repetir de novo.
Caralho, obrigado, mano. Relaxa. Não, tu não fez eu passar raiva, não, mano. É um bagulho que eu preciso fazer, tá ligado? Com certeza, mano. Só que. Puta que eu pariu, mano. Eu preciso dar um jeito nisso aí, mano. Só que é impossível, cara. E se eu fizer do celular só, mano? Tá ligado? Não dá, mano. Saca? Só se eu deixar o celular aqui, mano. Você nunca me faz passar raiva, não, cara. Né? Fica com raiva de outras coisas, né, paizão? De outras coisas. Mas tudo bem, mano. Tá tudo certo. É nóis, querido. Mano, só se deixar aqui o celular assim, mas fica feio, não é meu melhor ângulo, tá ligado? É um ângulo meio bosta, meio ruim. Tipo, mano, só se deixar o celular aqui, ó. Aí eu vou comer um pedaço da minha tela. Mano, que merda, cara. Que merda, que merda, que merda, que merda, que merda. Eu vou fazer algumas lives só no TikTok, tá ligado? Ainda, pra liberar essa porra aí. Besta dos sinos, mano. Ai, caralho. Ui, ui, ui. Ah, mano, qual foi, velho? O bicho me humilhou, me humilhou. O bicho me humilhou, mano. Eu vou fazer ainda dar certo, Frio. Obrigado pelos 30, mano. Você é foda, querido. Você é foda, mano. Obrigado de coração, velho. De coração, mano. De novo, puto, nós fica com outras coisas, né? Ô, filha da puta! Fudeu, mano, vou morrer. Ah, esqueci que ele pula. Tá, beleza. Beleza, 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 beleza. Vai dar, vai dar, vai dar, vai dar. Lai, 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 lai.
Boa noite, Brasil. Boa noite a você.
There are few races.
A Ari tá na final. Eu não esperava por isso, porque ela acabou com a vida dele. Acabou com a vida dele.
Eu paro um vídeo pra ouvir enquanto isso.
1981. New President Ronald Reagan has just
Me abandona não, Frio.
An emerging virus called HIV is becoming a growing concern. And workers at a wastewater treatment plant in Richmond, Virginia have just made a grisly discovery. An employee had been walking along the settling basin, a structure used to separate water from solid material. He saw what appeared to be the body of a young woman. The police were called and the remains were recovered. The woman was young, short and slim, and had a tattoo on her arm reading, "Dio." A forensic analysis revealed that she had undergone a hysterectomy at some point in her life, which might lead to pregnancy complications, treatment for ovarian cancer, or even darker, routine treatment at a psychiatric hospital in the 20th century. The hysterectomy didn't have anything to do with her death. That came about because of a bullet wound to the head.
Ai.
Other than the surface level information, nothing else could be gathered to tell this young woman's story. So, using 1981 technology, the police made a crude clay model of her head, depicting what she might have looked like before she passed, to see if the public might be able to identify her. But nobody ever came forward.
Mano, que merda!
With no leads and nowhere to look, the police just stopped investigating. Life would go on the same as it did before. Nobody would ever grieve this woman. Her story would never be told, and justice would never be served. She would never even have a name, only ever being referred to as the Richmond Jane Doe. And unfortunately, she's not a unique case. specifically in the United States of America, there are more than 10,000 unidentified bodies. The idea of just coming across a body that never gets identified has to be one of the most disturbing concepts I can think of. In fiction, there's a common trope of an angry spirit haunting a place desperately trying to get somebody to tell their story. And these movies and books usually end with a tragic tale of their death finally being told, putting the ghosts at peace and allowing them to move on. Horror usually ends up being scarier than reality in most cases, but in this particular realm, reality is much darker than fiction. In real life, the body and the person that occupied it just stays lost forever. Their only memorials are scattered disconnected case files in different law enforcement agencies. In some cases, loved ones are desperately trying to get answers, unaware that the person they're searching for has already been found. But even darker than that, a lot of these people go unidentified because they've just been forgotten.
Ai, merda, mosquei, ganância. A ganância acaba com o homem, né, mano?
Briefly held the attention of law enforcement agencies in the early 1980s. Criminal investigations mainly relied on traditional tangible evidence, like eyewitness accounts, fingerprints, and ballistics analysis. But a new movement had been gaining momentum. Instead of just looking for measurable evidence in individual cases, criminal profiling had police identifying characteristics of crimes that could point to the perpetrator's psychology in some way. This had law enforcement previously overlooked aspects of crimes, like the degree of control used by the offender.
Liberado. Nice. Nice. O que aconteceu? Que diabo é isso? Ah não, merda. Ô, merda. Que isso, mano? Consumir coração de seda. Eu sei o que isso significa? Não. Faço a menor puta da minha ideia. Para o poder de regenerar seda dentro da própria carapaça, mano. Mas, tipo, o que isso significa? Ah, ele recupera seda com o tempo agora. Legal. Legal. Mano, muito foda, mano, que ele virou nosso amiguinho agora, mano. Muito feliz. Pera, mas eu tenho Quick Travel liberado pra onde? Vai pra onde? Vale dos Ossos só, para. Pra que eu vou no Vale dos Ossos, pai? Não, vamos lá, tá ligado? Se foda, vamos, né? Ah, era aqui. Fofo. Ele é muito fofo, mano. Tem alguma coisa pra ver aqui ainda, mano? Nossa, tem uma subidona ali, velho. Mas é que já sai daqui, né? Eu acho. Acho que não tem mais nada pra ver aqui, né? Por enquanto. Não lembro, na real, não. É isso, eu acho. aqui é o quê? Um sino? É. Caralho, que foda esse visual. E é um banco aqui, né? Ô, filho da puta. Ô, filha da puta. Nossa, mano, mosquei total, né? Posso falar mosquei num jogo onde os personagens são insetos ou é preconceito? Merda, viu, mano?
Offender.
Tem alguém assistindo a live aí ou não?
Emotion in the act, and how organized or messy the crime scene was. Identifying these characteristics allowed police to not just categorize the sort of suspect they were looking for, but to also link different crimes together in a way they weren't previously able to using only traditional investigative techniques. But there was a problem blocking that last part from coming to fruition. Back in the early 1980s, law enforcement agencies were more or less working in isolation from one another. They all had their own specific procedures or paperwork and local files, and there usually weren't any protocols in place to share that information amongst themselves. This caused something called linkage blindness. If a serial offender committed a crime with striking signature characteristics and then went over to another county and did the same crime with the same signatures, those two cases wouldn't get linked together because the departments investigating them would be working in isolation. Even if they did share information, the documentation would be different and a lot of commonalities wouldn't be noticed because of them. This is what FIRE was intended to solve. In 1983, Los Angeles homicide detective Pierce Brooks would testify before Congress to advocate a radical new idea. A computerized database to track unsolved crimes that could be accessed by any law enforcement agency in the country. This database would be set up in such a way that the seemingly minute details of different crimes could be linked together, helping investigators make connections they wouldn't have previously been able to make. Brooks' idea was received enthusiastically, with the FBI fully picking up and funding the project. The database will be built and stored at the FBI Academy in Quantico, Virginia in 1985. And while it may have started out with the thousands of different law enforcement agencies around the country having to mail in handwritten forms that would be digitized by hand in Quantico, the procedures would advance over time as the world became more connected. First through fax machines, and then through an interesting new technology called the internet. In the 2000s,
Fofo,
the
bicho
FBI
fofo,
launched
bicho
FICAP,
fofo.
a fully internet-based version of the database
Porra, foi
that
essa,
could be
mano?
instantly accessed and browsed by law enforcement agencies. While FICAP Web was and is only able to be accessed by law enforcement users, the FBI would also create a much more limited but publicly accessible version of the database, which you can browse through a website hosted by the FBI. When we talk about things that are scary on this channel, there's usually two categories. Fictional horror tends to be very dramatic and solely relies on artistic elements like aesthetics and storytelling to create fear. It's by design calculated in its delivery. Real-life horror, on the other hand, is never calculated. It's not art designed to strike fear in you, yet it always does a much better job of that than fiction. The FBI's
perdi
Wildcat
monte
Zone
de
is a
coisa,
perfect
mano.
example of that second category.
Perdi muito item,
It's
mano.
just a cold
Muita
list
coisa.
of unsolved crimes presented
Legal,
in a manner
legal.
only meant to convey information in an efficient way
Legal.
and nothing more. But it still manages to be one of the most disturbing sights I've ever seen. Here you'll find the Richmond Jane Doe, as well as many other unidentified deceased people. The visual depictions of these individuals range from actual photos to digital recreations to physical recreations to drawings to even just articles of clothing in cases where the body is in such bad shape that clothes are the only remaining identifying traits. This entry is particularly unsettling. The only lead investigators have in this case is a single shoe. The remains were in such bad shape that even the victim's sex couldn't be determined. Like the vast majority of cases here, this one remains unsolved. I find it interesting how VICAP sits beside the FBI's top 10 most wanted lists on their website, as these two pages feel like yin and yang. The top 10 most wanted are a list of perpetrators of crime they're actively trying to catch. Or in other words, stories they're trying to put resolutions to. VICAP is a list of victims of crime they're trying to identify. Or rather, resolutions they're trying to put stories to. The two sites feel like binary opposites. Another thing you'll notice on VICAP is how unsettling a lot of these photos look, even completely separated from their chilling contexts. These reconstructions often fall into the uncanny valley, with the people they're depicting looking almost real but not quite, leaving any viewer unsettled. A lot of these depictions look not unlike something you would see in some online horror project, but not everything creepy looking here is a reconstruction. On June 3rd, 1991, truck driver Eduardo Collin pulled into a Super 8 motel off of I-40 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. He rented a room for 2 people for just one night, but the following morning, Eduardo never came to check out. After waiting an entire day, the motel eventually sent a security guard to check on Eduardo's room on June 5th. It had been locked from the inside, and the guard had to essentially break in using a screwdriver. When he finally got in, there was no one to be found in the main part of the room, just scattered bottles of alcohol. The bathroom was a different story though. In there, the security guard found a woman suspended in the air, hanging from a suitcase strap tied to the shower. She was dead. Investigators would determine her cause of death to be hanging, which was found to be self-inflicted, and had occurred on June 3rd, the night the room was rented. Even though she had only been deceased for 2 days, the shower had been running the entire time, and the extreme amount of moisture combined with the sweltering New Mexico heat greatly advanced the decay process, and her body was already in a state of putrefaction when she was found. She had heroin in her system, and judging by the fact police found a scale in the room, drugs may have played a part in this tragedy. Many questions hung in the air about this case, the most immediate of which being Eduardo's whereabouts. He was nowhere to be found. The license plate he had given to the hotel staff had been fraudulent. The front desk employee, who had been working the night of June 3rd, was able to give a physical description of Eduardo, which happened to fit a picture found in his room. This is a photo of the deceased woman while she was still
Já
alive.
vi esse já.
It appears to have been taken at one of those mall
Já
photos.
vi esse caso já. Pior que eu, incrivelmente já vi mesmo.
Did you know by leveling up your friendship with D-Horse, you can unlock a special command?
Go on.
É pra ele cagar, mano.
Although this might seem like a useless trick, doing this on the road can cause smaller vehicles to spin out of control and remain stunned for a short period of time. Although you can do some other cool things with D-Horse, like leaning on one side, which has become iconically Venom's thing. And this pretty awesome commando role, the Defecate command, is by far the most useful, solidifying D-Horse's position as the strongest buddy in the game. But there's other pieces of hidden details in the gameplay that reveal secret truths about the story and game's development. In Mission 22, a rival FOB takes control of Mother Base with all the enemies dressed in old MSF gear. Although Miller requests that you kill their leader called Mosquito, capturing him reveals that he's the same soldier seen fighting against XOF in the final cutscene of Ground Zero. Apparently, he heard a rumor that Big Boss orchestrated the attacks 9 years ago. So, Mosquito built a PF mimicking the original MSF down to the acronym to take revenge. The only problem is that Mosquito was also in the helicopter when it crashed and isn't mentioned as a survivor later in the hospital scene, which could mean this entire mission is all in Venom's imagination, just like the wandering Mother Base soldiers, since they wear the same battle damaged fatigues of that day instead of a clean version like the one seen in this picture. Or Mosquito did survive and the rumor he heard was actually talking about someone else, but more on that later.
Não dá, né?
Venom
Esqueci
and
disso aqui.
Mosquito have a hard time
Esqueci-me
recognizing each other
disso
when
aqui.
you interrogate them. Plus, there was a rumor that using Mosquito in his Legacy FOB event will cause all the guards to become harmless. But as seen in Dead Spider's video, this isn't the case and only happens when you visit your own FOB as training. Kinda ironic how Miller says this about Mosquito.
He was just a victim of disinformation.
If you grab a sniper rifle with strong penetration, you can actually shoot helicopter pilots through the cockpit. To my knowledge, shooting the glass from the front is easier to break than the side, but sometimes neither frame shatters for some reason, and you can down either of the two pilots. This is such an underused feature, especially since 3 shots from the Brennan sniper rifle destroys the helicopters anyway. But still, nothing feels better than getting a clean shot. You can also throw grenades and have Quiet ricochet them at the helicopter, but for how difficult it is to perform, it isn't really worth it either. And although the game includes attack helis and fighter jets, you can't actually fly them, unlike in the sponsor of today's video, War Thunder. War Thunder is a free-to-play military vehicle game with a wide variety of land, air, and even naval artillery to choose from, spanning across different eras of history. Not only does each vehicle feel different, but you can upgrade them with special modules and change their cosmetic appearances to suit your liking. Each vehicle has different advanced artillery ranging from guided missiles to a nuke that can destroy the battlefield. War Thunder also doesn't use a universal health bar, rather each shot does specific damage to that area of the vehicle for a more realistic experience. War Thunder is constantly expanding the number of vehicles in its roster, and thanks to the recent Dance of the Dragons update, players can now unlock 2 new Chinese fighter jets as well as 2 new iconic American fighter planes, a whole line of French naval ships, and so much more. By downloading War Thunder for free using the link in the description or pinned comment, all new players and those who haven't played for half a year or more will get special bonuses like 3 premium vehicles for free as well as a premium account and the M4 tank for a whole week, plus so much more. But hurry, because the American vehicle bonus season ends soon. In this interrogation scene, Huey claims this about Khan.
Miller was in contact with Cypher 9 years ago. He was working with them. He's the traitor, Snake!
Which has led to some theories online claiming Huey's innocence and Kaz being the real traitor, as suggested by Mosquito's story earlier. Since Kaz lies on a few occasions, like
I've been hunting him for 9 long years.
Even though the XOF soldier says, meaning the moment Huey heard of Big Boss's revival, he directly
Years.
Even though the XOF soldier says, meaning the moment Huey heard of Big Boss's revival, he directly contacted Diamond Dogs and wanted to return as opposed to his suggested hiding. But upon arrival, he unexpectedly gets thrown into hours of torture and interrogation. When trying to find claims against Huey about 9 years ago, Kaz admits,
Do you think he had a hand in it?
I do, but there's no proof yet.
Then Ocelot says this about Strangelove.
Why did Strangelove leave the base on the eve of the inspection? You two were close.
Strangelove?
But this isn't true either.
Dr. Strangelove's departure came at a perfect time.
Wait, she left?
She left last week. Zeke is complete. There was really no reason for her to hang around.
In fact, the last person to contact Big Boss before the inspection is Huey from the control tower. But Kaz goes completely silent and is later found on the adjacent platform, but coincidentally, no one asks what he was doing when the inspection team arrived. And as highlighted in Tasty Rainbow's analysis videos, with the small Strike Force XOF sent to Mother Base, it would have taken longer for them to set the C4 and blow all the struts up, which might mean it was also an inside job. Especially since Miller's strut is coincidentally the last to be taken down. Plus, Miller's quick to blame Huey for things they already know the answers to, like the so-called repairing of Sahelanthropus with Eli and the kids.
Conspiring with Eli, he repaired Sahelanthropus in secret.
It could never be piloted without Psychomantis's control, which they clearly see happen again when Eli steals it. They blamed Huey for the mutation of the Walbachia through the X-ray monitoring scans, even though Kotoka said this.
The reproductive cells are more sensitive to radiation, but I have not tested it. There's no telling what mutation could result if this is done post-infection.
And they pressed him for the location of Sahelanthropus in OKB0 for no reason, since it wasn't there, even though they saw it at the warehouse earlier in the game. Though the only evidence against this theory is when Skullface says this,
Traitor, I hope your friends give you what's coming to you.
And of course, Strangelove's body found in the AI pod, but even then, you can't trust the recording of a broken AI.
Kill me. Kill me.
Plus, when Miller says this...
Emmerich, we record all communications on Mother Base. You've been in frequent contact with people in America, and they are connected to Cypher.
They never show us any evidence, and the cassette tape cuts off before Huey gets a chance to reply to the accusations. In Mission 29, your helicopter flies into a ball of mist, then crashes from being quickly turned into rust. This is just one of many effects of the fictional metallic archaea and the parasite research of Code Talker. Metallic archaea is a modified single-cell organism that feeds off metals to enhance their properties in different ways. The skulls do this with minerals from the ground to create those strange spike things, which is also the same for Sahelanthropus' sword, as well as this black armor that the skulls use. It's also how the skulls can create metal weapons on the spot without having to carry anything. And the gas mentioned earlier includes weapons on the spot without having to carry anything. And the gas mentioned earlier includes corrosive metallic archaea that speeds up metal's oxidization into rust, which is why Ocelot threatened Huey with it, since his metal legs are directly attached to his bones via metal bolts. And thanks to the mist, this even happens to vehicles in the boss fight of Sahelanthropus. But unlike regular metals, Sahelanthropus' armor uses depleted uranium enriched with metallic archaea. Although depleted uranium is actually used as armor for tanks, if commanded, the metallic archaea can melt down Sahelanthropus' armor and extract uranium-235, the fuel used for nuclear reactions, and enriches the gas to 90%, causing a nuclear explosion. So basically, Sahelanthropus is a walking nuke thanks to its own armor and metallic archaea. You might have noticed that the skins of the skulls keep phasing between muscles and flesh. That's thanks to the parasite known as the One That Covers, which acts like the skin for the host, allowing the user to turn nearly invisible, and amplifies their normal abilities to supernatural level. In some cases, like Quiet, the parasites can replace vital organs and allow the host to live longer thanks to photosynthesis. The End from Snake Eater, Code Talker, and Quiet all share the same parasite treatment as seen by the black markings on their heads. Skullface also went through the same therapy after being burned, seen by the black markings on their head. Skullface also went through the same therapy after being burned, but for whatever reason his skulls don't seem to be alive. In fact, you can't actually ever kill them. Even if you stab them with their own swords or deal extreme amounts of damage, they'll always get up and jump away. Although it's not clear how the parasites and metallic archaea are used to turn normal soldiers into zombies with a hive mind, what's cool about this feature is that on missions like 28, if you sneak past the sniper skull unit, the soldiers around the villa will still be zombies, making it really easy to escape with Code Talker. But the snipers do reappear near the villa, so watch out. You can unlock Ocelot's unique tornado pistols, which have the special ability of ricocheting bullets if you fire it at the right angle. This can happen on most surfaces and is by far one of the coolest features of any gun. And if you play as Ocelot in FOB missions with this pistol equipped, he'll dual wield them and will divide the ammo. To my knowledge, this is the only time in the game you can dual wield weapons. It's a shame we don't get to use Ocelot with this ability in the campaign missions of the game, especially since he has some really cool reloading animations in both third and first person. In fact, there's so much more hidden details about Ocelot and other unique playable characters and skins across the games. Find out more in this video here. Did you know hidden deep in the forests of Zaire is a Tsuchinoko? By going to the northwestern parts of Lufa Valley and planting animal cages in the river of this beautiful area, you'll have a very small chance of catching this rare animal. The Tsuchinoko is a flat-bellied snake from Japanese folklore that hasn't been proven to exist yet, which is why Ocelot reacts like this.
Is that a Tsuchinoko? No one's ever caught one before. Boss, you just made the discovery of the century.
But it is actually wrong, because in MGS3 you can also find it by grabbing a bunch of mouse cages from Bolshaya past base and placing them all around the South Province. And once you lose all your gear in Grozny Grad, going just outside that waterfall where you meet Eva, you can find it again crawling around on the floor. Plus, finishing the game with this snake in your inventory will unlock the Infinity Face Paint, which comes with the infinite ammo effect, so keep this in mind for Delta. In fact, a lot of MGS5's coolest features are shared with other MGS titles, especially from Snake Eater and Peace Walker, like... Across different Metal Gear games, you can find posters of models hiding around the map. Tapping this one in MGS2 will make different sounds. And Otacon can interrupt Snake for staring at it for too long.
What do you think you're doing, Snake? You don't have enough to keep you busy?
But in MGS5, these kinds of posters can be put on cardboard boxes, which the player can use to distract enemies. Plus, if you're far away enough, using the soldier posters can trick enemies into thinking you're an ally. But again, this doesn't work if they're right next to you. The reason why the idle posters are so useful is because they can work on multiple soldiers at once, making the cardboard box the ultimate punishment for slacking off at work. Compared to older MGS titles that really limit your abilities inside the cardboard box, the Phantom Pain's box utility is a lot higher, allowing the player to use a wide variety of movement types without having to leave it, as well as temporarily opening it to either throw grenades or fire at enemies. The cardboard box also has a few different skins that help the player camouflage in different terrain, but after taking off all delivery tags on the fast travel system I mentioned in my last video, you'll unlock a new set of boxes with unique effects, like the smoke box that explodes once enemies inspect it, and my personal favorite, the waterproof box. Usually in wet weather or terrain they start to deteriorate, but with this cutting edge in technology it allows you to even crawl in rivers without the box getting damaged. But these don't compare to Peace Walker's boxes. Because Peace Walker has online multiplayer, you can fit 2 people inside a cardboard box, making their abilities focus. The rescue box that looks like an ambulance can revive downed allies without having to use CPR. Meanwhile, the love box, well...
Ooh, got room for 2?
And although Peace Walker has different variations of boxes that explode upon inspection, nothing comes close to the tank box, which uses 2 players as a driver and gunner respectively. The tank box can shoot lethal rounds at enemies like a real tank, or non-lethal smoke, stuns, or sleeping gas respectively. This box is so revolutionary that even Big Boss was amazed.
Hold on, Kaz. Who the hell came up with this thing? I'm sorry, boss. He meant well, I swear. It's brilliant.
By unaliving important characters in the Phantom Pain and Snake Eater, you'll get unique game over screens. One of the most famous is when you knock out Ocelot in the beginning of MGS3. Using a lethal weapon on him will cause Colonel Campbell to say you created a time paradox. Plus, waiting on Naked Snake's game over screen will also eventually change it to time paradox as well. The same goes for failing the main mission in Ground Zeroes, and funny enough, in the Phantom Pain, taking out Ishmael also shows this screen. Unaliving Huey, Kaz, Eli, and even Ocelot in the helicopter of Mission 29 will also play unique codec calls.
You just killed Ocelot. Boss, they're just kids. What did you do? What the hell, boss? Why did you kill him? The target's dead. Mission failed.
Boss, did you go all this way just to kill him?
Boss, you had something against Miller?
And although Code Talker's death only results in a game over screen, for whatever reason the game always shows his mangled body for a few seconds, which looks hilarious. There's a mystery revolving around what happened to Snake's bandana. Originally, this belonged to the boss, before Naked Snake managed to snag it from her as he fell off the bridge in the Virtuous mission. He kept wearing the bandana in Operation Snake Eater and through the events of Peace Walker some 10 years later. It wasn't until the boss's AI, through the mammal pod, laid down her weapon and drowned herself, that Snake threw away her bandana and declared himself as her true successor, Big Boss. But in the next chapter, Snake is seen wearing the bandana again, while in Ground Zeroes he doesn't have it anymore, which makes more sense. Now, I think the devs just didn't have enough time to create another model of Snake without his headpiece, since there isn't a customization without one. But in the Phantom Pain, after completing Side Up 143, where Snake goes back to Huey's lab in Afghanistan to recover Peace Walker's AI pod, the boss's bandana was found inside and becomes a wearable item. Plus, its description says it was salvaged from Lake Nicaragua. So, was this actually found with Strangelove's corpse in the AI pod, or is this a figment of Venom's imagination? Although MGS5 gives players a head, it's a figment of Venom's Was this actually found with Strangelove's corpse in the AI pod, or is this a figment of Venom's imagination?
Peraí, que eu perdi
AI
isso aqui.
pod, the boss's bandana was found inside and becomes a wearable item. Plus, its description says it was salvaged from Lake Nicaragua. So, was this actually found with Strangelove's corpse in the AI pod, or is this a figment of Venom's imagination? Although MGS5 gives players a head customization option, Snake only has the boss's bandana and its Infinity variant, giving players unlimited ammo. And the MSF soldiers get the balaclava reminiscent to those in Peace Walker. Even though the game shows us different accessories like the goggles Snake wears on the game's cover art and in the beginning of the game, it only appears around his neck on the leather jacket costume. Which is a shame since MGO does give us some extra head customizations, but it's only exclusive to online and they can cost real money. And although Peace Walker only had the metal bandana, MGS3 was famous for having a lot of face paint that sadly weren't ever reused in future titles. With the exception of MGO once again, but it doesn't really count. But there is a few secret hats you can unlock. If a player is having trouble with the mission, the game will give you the option to use the chicken hat. This hat prevents enemies from detecting the player. Enemies will even pretend like they didn't see anything in a sarcastic way, which is just the best thing in the game. You can get detected up to 3 times before the hat disappears. But players don't know, if you die using the chicken hat a couple of times, you'll unlock the little chick hat, which is a lot stronger than the previous version, turning Snake completely invisible from enemies, but they can still hear you. Even if you interact with them, they still won't go to alert status since they can't see anything, which can lead to some hilarious moments. To my knowledge, little chick hat only lasts for the mission or until you go back to the ACC, but still a cool feature. Snake's iconic olive drab from Snake Eater was carried over to Peace Walker and even the Phantom Pain with little changes to its design. But as seen in a tweet from Kojima, because olive drab field uniforms and camouflage weren't very popular with people, they decided to make the plain uniform fashionable by giving it multiple different patterns, colors, and the face paint option mentioned earlier, while also tying it in with the camouflage system of the game. Peace Walker also continued this theme with a camouflage meter and multiple different designs, as well as the Phantom Pain, thanks to its additional content through FOB. It also has a camouflage system, but it's just hidden from the player. In fact, Peace Walker and the Phantom Pain share a lot of the same colors from the basic uniforms, which is pretty cool. And some of them are even inspired off those introduced in Snake Eater. And although I usually choose the basic olive drab with so many colors and patterns, let me know which one's your favorite. MGS5's gameplay is a culmination of ideas Kojima always wanted to implement in previous titles from the Big Boss era. For example, in MGS3, Snake was told to extract Sokolov with the Fulton recovery system.
The recovery balloon will be dropped at that point. Helium will be pumped into the balloon to inflate it. The process takes about 20 minutes. The full surface air recovery system.
According to the wiki, a more detailed demo on how it works was included in the game before being cut out. Kojima was apparently referencing the James Bond movie Thunderball, where they used it at the end of the film. But the Fulton recovery system was later included in Portable Ops and became a core part of expanding Mother Base in Peace Walker. Plus, developing Mother Base platforms in Peace Walker was tied to certain units leveling up, capping at around 20 platforms in total and a maximum of 350 units. But in the Phantom Pain, you can manually create up to 5 FOBs with 28 platforms each. And you go down to visit each of the unit's struts and set up defense for other rival PF. Also, when you dispatch on a mission in Peace Walker, you hear this. While in the Phantom Pain, you actually have to wait for deployment in the helicopter at the start of every mission or when moving back to Mother Base. Not to mention other features like rescuing animals and the shower system, which will actually cause enemies to react to Snake if you haven't taken a shower in a long time. In the first mission rescuing cars, you can overhear Soviet soldiers talking about the recent rumors of a man with a horn that fights like he's possessed by a demon. What's crazy is that Venom arrived in Afghanistan only a few days prior, but they say he's already taken down a lot of Soviet soldiers, suggesting that the canon version of the character is cursed to become an evil war criminal despite the game giving the player the option to be a pacifist. Which is why with every major event, Snake's horn seems to grow longer, and eventually being completely covered in blood after leaving Eli to get napalmed in Mission 51. But there's another hidden secret in Kaz's mission that you definitely missed. Find out more in this video here. Did you know you can use the parasite camouflage or active camo to hide from Quiet in the boss battle? Even if you run around, for the most part she won't be able to see you unless you make loud noises close by. And for whatever reason, diving breaks your camouflage for a second, causing her to try guessing where you are. But otherwise, you can easily sneak up on her using this method. Plus, just like how you can command Quiet to ricochet grenades as your buddy, if you throw some in her line of sight during the boss battle, she will shoot it back at you. Meaning whatever type of grenade it is, it'll be turned against you, so watch out. Quiet is also weak to stuns and sleep gas in both her boss fight and when playing as her in FOB missions, but has a high resistance to lethal weapons, including fire and Molotov, so you're better off just using CQC. In fact, there's actually a lot more insane details scattered around MGS5's gameplay features, story mode cutscenes, and even cut content from the game. High-leveled items only available in FOB missions have some insane ability. One of my favorite being this personal shield that basically turns Big Boss into a droidica for a few seconds. Although it's not that
mano,
strong,
go for it, cara.
pretty cool. This also goes for the dark matter generator that destroys cameras and other equipment it passes through, but does very little damage to people. Another cool weapon is the Renov sniper rifle, which acts as a railgun, having no bullet drop from what I can tell, making it great for long distance takedown. These next weapons are available outside FOBs, but are still insanely strong, like the AMA non-lethal pistol, which bypasses heavy body armor and instantly tranquilizes the enemy, making it one of the best pistols to use in high-level FOBs. But because it's a gas-based trank, it doesn't have any effect on soldiers with gas masks, so watch out. Another cool pistol is the first tranquilizer you get in the game. Eventually, you can unlock Ground Zero's version with a permanent suppressor, and or the CB version that has a much higher effective range and can even be put as an underbarrel attachment to lethal weapons, making your loadout a lot more versatile. The problem though with these equipments is that they cost a fortune to develop and deploy with, which is why by far the best and most cost-effective weapon in the game is the water pistol, because shooting the water pistol at the skulls will cause their parasites to react and stop attacking for a brief moment to absorb the liquid. The same thing happens when doing this to Quiet in her boss battle and as her partner. But the water pistol has a lot more uses. You can destroy the enemy's electrical equipment with it, and spraying guards in the face while in reflex mode will cause them to stagger for a few seconds, giving Snake a chance to quickly escape or use CQC. But by far the best use of the water pistol is against the man on fire, which won't only slow him down, but
Galera,
can defeat him if you...
já volto.